Hello, YouTube. Welcome to part 2 of my series, The 7 Hermetic Laws. Today we will be studying and discussing the principle of polarity. So let's go ahead and start with the basic meaning, and then we will get into my different interpretations as well as connections to spirituality in our everyday lives. So the principle of polarity says everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same, opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes meet, all truths are but half truths, all paradoxes may be reconciled. So, the principle of polarity pretty much, of course, it tells us that every item or thing or idea has two sides to it. It can have a lower vibrational side and it can have a higher vibrational side. So I see low and high vibrations in almost everything, whether it be spiritually slash energetically or morally slash physically. Not everything, of course, consists of these low and high vibrations, but almost everything, it has those two different sides to it. So we as human beings, we experience lower vibrations like sadness, grief, anger, depression, lacking, whether it be lacking love or lacking stability. It could be financially or just in other ways. And the higher vibrations that we experience will be happiness, joy, contentment, stability, and experiencing the positive sides of love. And I say the positive sides of love because even if you have love in your life, it could either be healthy or it could be toxic. It could be healthy and helpful, or it could be toxic and draining to you. So, some different examples of low vibrations spiritually could consist of the evil eye, monitoring spirits, arrogance, hexing and cursing people, lacking protection, lacking faith, or being a vulnerable spirit to the spirit world. The higher vibrations could be cleansing, protection, positive rituals, right? Being balanced and abundance. So when we think of low vibrations, of course, we see it as negative, and some people may even call these things evil, but that isn't always true, right? So even though, you know, we include hexing in low vibrations, which it always is. It always is low vibrational. However, that does not mean that it is always inherently evil, because there are times where it is necessary. Now, we won't get into that topic too much in this video because I know that that is something that people have their different opinions on. However, I do feel that there are times where that is justified. It is not justified just because someone pissed you off, just because someone offended you or made you mad. No, it doesn't work that way. But there are more serious situations where it may just be necessary. And when you know a spiritualist who is willing to work with both energies, the lower energies and the higher energies, it does not make that person evil, just as it does not make someone inherently a good person just because they choose not to hate someone. And in reality, there are other lower vibrations that people who want to deem themselves as overall good individuals experience, even if they show it or they don't show it. An example is arrogance, which is something that I feel that I see in the spiritual community a lot, especially with the things that people say. Like, for example, I've seen people getting on social media saying, oh, spiritual people don't care who's president, which is one of those things where it's kind of like, Because you have to remember that even on the scale of polarity, it says that as above, so below. There is the physical world and there is the spiritual world, but they are all one. And they should all be cared about and catered to. So you can't just protect yourself spiritually and not protect yourself in this physical world, right? And protecting yourself in this physical world can include spiritual measures, but you also have to be aware in the physical to protect yourself completely. So if you're ignoring the issues that are going on, you're automatically bringing about an imbalance to your life, and you may actually fall more into that lower vibrational energy than you realize, right? Because balance is important when it comes down to spirituality. Being a spiritualist, doing rituals, spells, readings, especially if you're doing these things for other people and you're involved in other people's energy and dabbling in other people's energy, you have to make sure that you stay balanced. So, just a side note, I feel like people who say that, they don't care about who's president or what's going on in this physical world because they feel that they are also protected, are people who are operating more out of arrogance in the unhealthy side of their ego than they are willing to realize. Because when you are someone who considers yourself a healer, especially if you specifically call yourself a healer, how can you be that if you're refusing to acknowledge what there is that needs to be healed, right? And I mean, realistically speaking, everybody, whether it be your family or your friends, does not have the same spiritual protection or awareness that you may have. So I just feel like that is a very low vibrational things to say. If I'm being honest, I think that is again operating out of that lower vibrational side of your ego, because there are two different sides of your ego. You can be operating out of your ego in a way that has confidence and sets boundaries, and you can also be operating out of your ego in a way that is arrogant and feels that you are above having to care about certain things or certain people, or feel like you're different than other people, so you don't have to worry about the same things that they have to worry about, when in reality we are all people. Okay, we are all just people, human beings. None of us are gods, none of us are goddesses. Realistically speaking, I mean, regardless of how connected to the other side you feel that you are still vulnerable because you're a human being. So you have to make sure that you're being, smart in all ways, and that you're being real with yourself about who and what you actually are, and that you never fall into a sort of psychosis of feeling like almost like your physical body doesn't exist or something and you're just a spirit, when in reality that's not true. You are more than a spirit. You are a spirit and you are also a physical body. You're a spiritual body and you're a physical body, okay? Both of those parts are what make you you, regardless of how you feel about it. Now, speaking of people who are operating out of a more negative side of their ego, or who feel that they are above having to protect themselves physically and spiritually, I want to talk about something that I mentioned in my last video, which was light workers who are afraid of the dark. So this kind of is a little different than what we were just talking about, but it just focuses on the importance of, as someone who considers themselves a healer, to not demonize that low vibrational side of spirituality and realize that it is there, it is real, and that you don't have to dabble in it, but you have to make sure that you're at least acknowledging it so you can be protected from it, right? So, besides monitoring spirits and evil eyes, there is such thing as trickster spirits. And of course, it's in the name. We consider those spirits that will trick you and trick your mind into thinking that something is different than what it is, or even mistranslating situations spiritually. So I seen someone post on social media the other day about how they went to a tarot reader before, and I think that this is an experience that a lot of us have had. Maybe not everybody, but even including myself. They went to a tarot reader, and this person had a really big following, and they were really popular, and a lot of people liked them, right? Which, the more time goes by, the more you realize that doesn't really mean anything. But of course, especially in the beginning, or when you haven't let go of that side of your ego, you think that those things matter. So they get a reading from this person, of course, expecting like it has to be accurate. You know, what this person says has to be correct because they have this huge following, right? They have a lot of supporters. So they got a reading on their current relationship, and the reader told them, oh, this guy is great, he's amazing for you, you need to stay with him, this is going to be a great relationship, right? So they listened to that person, and I think fast forward, I want to say like a couple of months later, she said that the guy just started showing like super red flags. Like, I mean, it's almost like the further they got into the relationship, the more he turned into a different person, right? So a lot of people in the comments were saying how, well, you know, yeah, I've been to a reader like that before, and I think that it's just that because, you know, as readers, they're not always right, they're not perfect, which is very true. That's very true. I'm not denying that. At the end of the day, we only know what spirit is willing to tell us, right? If spirit tells us something that's a little wrong, then it could just be because you don't need to know at that time or at that moment. However, to me, that situation was a little different than them telling you, oh, you know, no, that job isn't for you, just because they didn't want you to focus on it at that moment, but later on they wanted you to see, you know, you just need to wait and this job is for you. But to say that an evil person or a toxic partner was really a great person and convinced them to stay with that person, in my opinion, just wasn't, I felt like that had a little bit more to do with that tarot reader considering themselves a specifically a light worker, or someone who only works with lighter energies, which is okay. That's completely fine. I don't want anyone to say that I'm trying to make that a negative thing, because I'm not. But when you are providing services to people, okay, you have to be willing to acknowledge not only the light, but the dark. Because if you're not acknowledging the dark, you're putting your clients at danger for having to experience that darkness without your warning, right? So anytime that I've ever given someone a reading and a negative feeling came up about the person they were inquiring about, because I'm not the type of person to block out and completely just block out negative energy, like, oh no, you know, keep that away from me. I mean, I protect myself from it, but I'm open to feeling it, because you have to be willing to acknowledge it to warn people, right? So if you're the type of person who is like, oh no, you know, I demonize all negative energies and, you know, keep those away from me, or if you're the type of person who acts like that could never ever come near you and you don't need to protect yourself, which again can just be trickster spirits coming and kind of tricking your mind and tricking your spirit when you're giving people these readings and channeling these messages for people. And when you act like you're above having to protect yourself from that, or when you act like, you know, because you simply don't acknowledge it, that it's not there, you actually become a lot more vulnerable to it. And when you're giving these readings to these clients and these negative energies come through, you're not going to pick up on it, which could put your client in danger. Now, I know that I've gotten readings from people before where they told me that pretty much the same thing, you know, oh, that this partner is great, oh no, you know, don't fault them for this, they actually really love you. And then the longer I stay in a relationship, quite literally the worse it gets. It just gets worse and worse and worse. But I realize that when I go to that person and they tell me all these good things about this bad person, but then I go to another reader who I know is someone who acknowledges those dark energies and doesn't act like they're above them, they tell me the truth. They tell me, no, this person is not a good person. You need to stay away from this person. So it's almost like it just shows you, like, okay, while there are people who act as if ignoring those negative energies means that they're above them, it does not mean that they're above them. It actually means that they are more vulnerable to them, and it means that they are just blocking themselves out from being able to receive messages about those energies when they come through. So when you go to a tarot reader, make sure that it is someone who is willing to give you bad news. Make sure it is someone who is willing to receive the energy of a low vibration to help you with whatever it is that you're inquiring about. So like I mentioned in my last video, if it's someone who isn't always speaking about protection and protection and protection and cleansing, be iffy. And I'm not trying to talk down on any readers, because I know that we are all one. We are all one big community. But I have to be honest, because I hate to see people get tricked. And in all honesty, again, when you see a big following, when you see a lot of supporters, it automatically makes you feel like, oh yeah, this person, like, yeah, they gotta be legit, they gotta be good, right? But in all actuality, a lot of us just like hearing good news. A lot of us don't like hearing bad news. But bad news is a part of life. Okay, you can't always demonize that bad news, because bad news is a part of life. Mishaps, they're a part of life. We all experience things that feel like misfortune, just like we all experience things that feel like good luck. And so you have to be willing to acknowledge both of those sides of whatever situation it is that you're dealing with. The worst thing that you can do is try to close yourself off to lower vibrations or the more negative vibration or side of something, because you feel that you're above it, or because you feel that ignoring it will protect you from it, because it will not. It will not protect you from it at all. But acknowledging it and acknowledging the fact that you need to protect yourself from it is what will protect you from it. Now, I cannot speak for everyone, because at the end of the day, I am only one person, right? I know what works for me. I know what works for a few people that I know, but I don't know what works for everybody. But I know some people have an idea that, well, as long as I do good, I don't need to protect myself from other things, because those things won't be able to touch me. Now, I can't speak for someone who just does more surface level, things or whatever. But for someone who does rituals, spells, you're really dealing with different types of energies. You have to realize that you absolutely do need to protect yourself, okay? You absolutely do need to cleanse yourself, especially if you are providing services to people. Do not go walking around with a dirty spirit that is covered in built up muck, because you feel like you're above having to do a spiritual bath. You feel that you're so protected that you don't have to do that. That's not true. And in all actuality, if you've been in this game long enough, you know that mindset will get you humbled. It will get you humbled real quick, and the universe will show you real fast that you are not above this, because these low vibrations and these high vibrations are a part of everything. Okay, you can say I vibrate so high that nothing can touch me, but you're gonna be in that lower vibrational energy at times. You're gonna experience sadness, you're gonna experience anger, you're gonna experience grief. Okay, you're going to experience these things. Now, of course, when you're in a lower vibrational energy, you can get to the other side. Now, it's possible, and that's another thing that the principle of polarity tells us, is that because there are two sides to everything, you have to remember that when you're on one side, it is possible to get to the other side. And there's different ways that you can go about this. You can do affirmations. You can do rituals and spells for protection or manifestations, meditation to balance your energy, balance whatever chakras need to be balanced to bring about changes to your life, positive changes. If you're dealing with a lack of financial stability, it's possible to get to that financial stability, but you have to figure out, how can you do that? How can you make that happen for yourself? What steps can you take? What ideas can you put out there? How can you manifest that financial stability? If you're constantly experiencing a toxic love, you have to realize that there is a healthy love out there, and that all you have to do is plan it out. I mean, for one, of course, be real with yourself about what it is that you need to change, and what you may have been doing, or what mindset you may have been having that may have been putting you in these bad situations. Like another example that kind of connects what I was just speaking about, experiencing unhealthy love. Now, or just, oh, shit. Or just experiencing, wait, hold on. Experiencing misfortunes in your life in general. Now, a lot of people, something that you hear people say often is, why do bad things always happen to good people? And the reason why people question that is because you feel that if I'm just being a good person, that should attract good to me, right? When in reality, it's a lot deeper than that. Do you have boundaries? Do you feel like if you give your all to other people that they're going to give their all to you? Do you feel like lack of boundaries is going to get you some type of reward? Do you feel like bending over backwards for people who you barely even know, or people who may not deserve it, will get you some type of reward? You know, when in reality, you have to realize that these habits are what are attracting you to this unhealthy side of love or relationships that you're constantly experiencing. Now, it does not mean that unhealthy people won't try to come into your life. It doesn't mean that a guy at the gas station with the worst energy on earth still ain't gonna try to talk to you. But you will be protected from it, because you will know, hey, I have to take the steps myself to keep those people away from me. Me just simply thinking that I'll only get good at a life is not what's going to bring me good. It's my conscious decisions that I'm making that are putting me on that side of the spectrum to get and receive and experience a healthier love, rather than those decisions I was making that were making me experience a toxic love and toxic relationships. Okay, and relationships that are just simply draining you. You cannot ever walk around and feel as if you'll just get these things just because you want them. You know, it doesn't work like that. Just like I said, with people who are giving readings, giving readings to people and doing spell work to people and thinking, as long as I keep my vibration high, I'm forever protected and I don't need to. No, the reality is you're working with a lot of energies. Okay, you're connecting with a lot of different people's energies, and regardless of if you see the negative energies, being blind to the negative energies will not keep them away. They're there, you just cannot see them. So it's the same thing when people ask, why do bad things always happen to good people? Well, again, you have to question, are you walking around with no boundaries? Are you bending over backwards for people? Are you doing things for people that they would never do for you? And while there are times where God may make you an angel in somebody's life and may want you to do someone a favor without expecting something back, that is not something that's going to happen every damn day. That is not something, God did not put you on this earth to be the giver and not the receiver. God didn't put you on this earth to be the help. That is not what God put you here to do. Now, maybe to help people spiritually, but again, if you're some type of spiritual mentor, that's completely different than allowing every single person that you meet to come into your energy and to be some type of giver to them just because you feel like that'll get you a reward from the universe. Because again, it won't. But like I said, the principle of polarity reminds us that it is our actions that can put us on either side of the spectrum, and that if we're on one side of that spectrum, we have to be conscious and realize that there is another side to it, and that we at any time could fall to that other side, whether you want to or whether you don't want to. So I hope that this video was able to help someone expand their perspective on their everyday experiences, on the situations that you may be dealing with and the types of situations that you may be attracting. I hope that if you are in one mindset that is not bringing you the most positive results, that you can realize that a shift in mindset can bring you a shift in results as well. I hope that this video can serve as a reminder that we are all equal. No one is above anyone, and no one is above experiencing anything, and that we must be conscious in what we do, because that will determine what we experience. So, yeah. I hope this helped. Again, I am not a master in this information. I am learning every day. I'm always open to new perspectives. I'm open to discussing things with anyone who may want to add on to something that I said, or even challenge anything I said. Of course, keep it respectful, but I'm always open to criticism. I'm always open to, again, shifting my own perspective on something. So if you have any comments, please let me know. Comment below whatever it was that you were feeling about this video or different parts of this video. If you have any questions that you would like to ask me on my services or my readings, please do not hesitate to email me and let me know. how you're feeling, whatever it is that you're wondering. Y'all have a good day.